Responsibility are an assigned part of a person's life from the time of birth. As a child, your sole responsibility is to follow the rules and regulations of your parents' house. At your workplace, as an adult, you have a responsibility. It doesn't matter what job you do. Everyone has a responsibility. Let's take, for example, on a soccer team, you have a goalkeeper, you have a defender, you have a midfielder, and you have a forward. The job of the responsibility of the goalkeeper is to not allow any soccer ball in the net. The job or the responsibility of the forward is to try to put the ball in the net. And everyone knows their responsibility. So that leaves us with this question. What are the responsibilities of an aviation instructor? Better yet, what are the responsibilities of a flight instructor? Welcome to Tax E of the Fundamental of Instructing. Hey pilots and aviation lovers, welcome to our channel where we motivate and inspire future aviators. My name is Kanu. You are watching Nimba Pilot, the Pride of Liberia. Like I said in the introduction, from the time of birth until the time we depart this earth, we will always have a responsibility. Doesn't matter where you work. There will be a responsibility assigned to you, and you should know your responsibility. Flight instructors, aviation instructor, like any other job, we have a responsibility. So today we're going to be going through the responsibilities of flight instructors, the responsibility of an aviation instructor. You may ask, what's the difference between a flight instructor and an aviation instructor? Well, under one umbrella, we are an aviation instructor. But within the aviation instructing, we have flight instructors, we have ground instructors. So as an aviation instructor, we have lots of responsibility. And also as a flight instructor, we have an add-on responsibility. So today, we're going to be going through flight instructor responsibility and professionalism. So what is the topic of today? You got it right. The topic of today is aviation instructor responsibility and professionalism. And we are on Tax E of the FOI. Again, like I said, as an aviation instructor, we have responsibility. And what are the responsibility of an aviation instructor? The first responsibility is that we are there to help students learn. The first responsibility of an aviation instructor is what? To help students learn. How do we accomplish this? The first thing you as an instructor should do to help your student learn is making sure each lesson is a good experience. Remember, in Tax B, we define learning as a change in the learner behavior as the result of experience. Now, if we learn from our experience, the best way to help your student learn is to make each lesson a good experience. That way they will remember it. That way they will be looking forward to the next stage. That way they will be looking forward to learn more. So as a flight instructor or as an aviation instructor, one way you can help your student learn is making each lesson a good experience. Another way is by being well organized. Again, you cannot be all over the place. All right, it's going to be distracting to your student. Remember, we talk about if your student sees that you're not real prepared, they loses their confidence in you. Therefore, your assessment or your critique of them will not matter. Now, you have to present yourself as an instructor, so you got to be well organized. Being well organized will help you teach your student the way they need to be taught. Okay? Now, the third one here is getting to know your student. Man, this will be the best way to help your student learn. Remember, in Tax A, we learned that people are from different backgrounds, different walks of life, so they have different perception, right? and our experience made up our perception, and we learn from our perception. Now, as an instructor, if you take your time to get to know your student, you're going to learn the way in which their student learn. Therefore, if you know how the student learn, you're going to come up with a plan on how to teach them, right? So getting to know your student is another way you can help the student learn. What are other responsibilities? The second one here is providing adequate instruction. You don't want to breeze over your lesson plan or your lesson of the day. You want to be able to make sure you're giving them enough time to learn this material. You're making sure you're spending enough time with your student to teach them this material so they will be able to learn it. So giving them, providing adequate instruction. Again, another responsibility is coming up with a standard that is based on the student experience, on the student level of training. Again, you're going to have a lot of students, and all of them will be at different level in their training. So you are not going to set a general standard for all of your students. To break it down even further, each lesson is going to have a standard. So your responsibility as a flight instructor is setting that standard and monitoring the student performance to see if they are meeting the standard. Okay, that's one responsibility. Another responsibility is minimizing student frustration. Aviation is already stressful, so as a flight instructor, you don't want to add to their stress. So how do you minimize a student frustration? Number one, by keeping them up to date with their progress. Number two, by being consistent with them. Okay, so you can minimize their frustration. Another responsibility of a flight instructor is to emphasize on the positive. If you can remember, in Tax B, we talk about two types of learning theory we have. We have cognitive and we have what? Behavioralism, right? And behavioralism was based on what? Based on punishment and reward. And cognitive is all about the thinking process, right? And we said we want to keep the positive, the reward part of behavioralism, and merge it with the cognitive when it comes to aviation instructing, right? So emphasizing on the positive. If you are if you are critiquing your student, start with the positive. Okay, tell them what they did good and merge it in what they need to work on. We can end with the positive. Okay, see their what? See their potential. That's another responsibility, emphasizing on the positive. The next responsibility is to motivate. Students look up to us to motivate them. Again, people from different backgrounds, people from different walks of life. You don't know their problem at home. They come to school. They are looking up to the aviation instructor for a positive feedback. So whatever chance you have, whenever you have the chance, try to speak positive thing that will motivate your student. Okay. The next responsibility is giving constructive criticism. We talked about this in the last lesson, Tax D, assessment and critique. Okay. If you're going to critique your student, be constructive. Okay. Meaning they need to learn from whatever critique you are giving them. Give them a way out. Don't just say, hey man, this thing you did today wasn't good at all, without giving them suggestion to fix it, or without giving them way in which they can fix it. So giving constructive criticism is one of our responsibility. We already talked about being consistent and give credit when it's due. I told you guys, aviation is stressful. As a flight instructor, if you have a student who is struggling at doing something and they finally get it, you need to pat them on their back to say, hey, good job, man. Praise them. praise, motivate. Okay, that's one of the responsibility, motivation, right? To motivate. Praise, motivate. If your student do their first solo, take a picture, frame it, sign it, give it to them. That is another way to motivate your student. So give credit when it's due. The last but not the least is safety insured. Our responsibility as aviation instructor is to ensure safety. Have you heard this term? See something, say something. We are preparing future aviators. So we got to teach them the right way to do something from the start. Remember the law of primacy that states that the first way you learn how to do something is the way that you're going to do it for the rest of your life. So if you start learning something and you get into that bad habit, it will be difficult to get out of that bad habit, right? So these are the responsibility of an aviation instructor. Now, we as flight instructor, we have additional responsibility. What are those responsibilities, you may ask? As a flight instructor, your responsibility is to evaluate student performance, right? Yep, that's another responsibility for flight instructors. You will be signing this student logbook for solo flight. So you got to evaluate to make sure that the student is safe and the student is ready for their solo flight, right? You have to make that decision to send someone out by themselves to go flying an aircraft, and that person's life is pretty much in your hand. So with that skill, you will determine if the person is ready or not. So that's a huge responsibility. Flight instructor endorsement, making sure that before your student go for their check ride, they have all of the proper endorsement. You don't want to send out your student for a check ride and they are missing the major some endorsement that they're supposed to have in their logbook, right? That's a responsibility. Additional training and endorsement. What does that mean? Sometimes students go out for their rating test and they failed it. Now, according to the FAR, the instructor have to sit with the student, go over the part they failed in, and then endorse the student for the retake of the test. Even for check ride, if they fail their check ride, you have to train them, give them more training, and then endorse their logbook before they can go face the examiner again. So another additional responsibility is the monitoring of the physiological obstacle for flight student. I'll tell you guys this story. When my very first flight on a Piper Warrior was my second time being in an aircraft. Okay? The first time was me coming from Africa here. And the second time was me flying for the very first time in a small aircraft. And you all know that flying a bigger aircraft and flying a smaller aircraft is two different experiences. So my very first flight training, my instructor decided to go up with me and do stall and steep turn. I got so sick. I held myself from throwing up, but man, I got so sick in my stomach and my eyes was like turning. So we as instructor, we need our responsibility is to take care of our student too. They don't have the same experience as us. And the G-forces that sometimes shock your body. If you're not used to the G-forces in steep turn. Okay, we should be aware of that. We should not laugh at our student when they're experiencing their negative G. Okay, some flying instructor they see joy in making their students sick. Our responsibility is not to seek joy in making our students sick. That might turn them away from aviation. Okay, remember, our responsibility as flight instructor is to help students learn, right? Remember, a sick student doesn't learn well. So if we see that our student is getting sick, we need to stop what we're doing and return back to the airport, or land somewhere at another airport. Make sure their body calm down, and then you guys can take off and continue with your flight lesson. Another responsibility is ensuring student ability. Okay, ensuring student ability, making sure the student develop the required skill and knowledge prior to their solo. I told you guys earlier, it is a big responsibility to endorse a student logbook for a solo flight. That pretty much that student life is in your hand. So don't just send students out just because they are bugging in your ear to go for a solo flight. And also don't keep the student from going solo just because you as an instructor, you're scared to send them out or you are scared to lose your license. This is the big responsibility that we as an instructor, we have. Again, the evaluation responsibility comes in place. One thing we didn't talk about in the beginning of the video is professionalism. We got to be the part, right? At your workplace, if you're a nurse, you have to be identified as a nurse. So what? You look your part, right? You dress in your uniform, right? There's a specific uniform for nurse. And a doctor, even if they have their regular clothes on, they have to put something on to identify them as a doctor, right? So you got to be their part. So as a flight instructor, we have to be professional at all time. We have to be that part at all time. We are the face of this industry. So we got to look our best at all time. When we say professionalism, what does it entail? We are talking about sincerity. We got to be sincere with our student at all time. Remember, we said do not BS your student, or else they're going to lose their confidence in you. And also, we got to accept our student. We got to be able to maintain a calm, a positive demeanor. Okay, you're gonna come in contact with student that will get on your nerve. Student will scare you, but if students see that fear in your face, they will lose confidence in you. So in every situation, you have to keep your calm. You have to use proper language. Okay, watch your language around your student. Again, we are preparing future aviators. So whatever we teach them now, they're going to go ahead and teach someone with it. And we want to represent this industry in a positive way, right? So proper language. Be professional. Your professional appearance. Okay? Don't just wake up in the morning with any kind of clothing to go fly instruct because you're not with the airline. I mean, that is your job. You are the face of the industry. So look proper. Again, be that part. You got to look the part. We talked about evaluation of student ability earlier. That's one of our responsibility as a flight instructor, because we're going to be sending them out for cross country. We're going to be endorsing them for a check ride. We're going to be sending them out for solo. So we need to be able to evaluate their demonstration skill, right? We're going to keep the student informed of their progress, right? And we're also going to correct the student error. Do not let the student error go without correcting it. Yes, we don't want to be the instructor who will always jumping on a yoke. We want to be relaxed, laid back, and let the student make the error and see the error and try to correct for it. Of course, we're going to come take over when we know that they're about to get in a situation that they cannot handle, but that doesn't mean every single time a student made a mistake, you need to jump on it. But do not let that mistake go without correction. So the next thing on that list is aviation instructors and exam. This one is pretty much the instructor making sure the student have they have taken the proper test. The student is ready to go for their check ride. So they have to, for example, for a private pilot, you have to take the rating, you have to take the oral exam. So they need to make sure they have their rating test taken care of before they can go for the oral exam. Pretty much before you endorse the student for their check ride as their flight instructor, you have to make sure they have all of their exams taken care of. All right, guys, we're almost there. The last one on the list here is professional development. Now, remember, a good pilot is always learning. Doesn't matter, just because you have your flight instructor certificate doesn't mean you stop learning. You are always learning. So there are ways that you as a professional pilot now, CFI, need to build up your skills, need to build up your knowledge base. As a flight instructor, you need to be looking forward to what? Expand your knowledge base, right? You have a CFI. You need to be looking forward to expand it by getting your CFII. You have your CFII. If you have money, you can also do your multi-engine instructor, right? You can also, stuff like that is expanding your knowledge base, making sure you are up to date with aviation information. You are a flight instructor. You are the dictionary for your students, okay? Remember, your student might be lazy. They don't want to go research. So they will wait until they meet with you to ask you a question instead of going to go research. You need to be able to help them out. You need to be able to answer their question. How can you do that if you're not up to date with aviation information? Go on the FAA website and read. Read on new regulation. Read on new article that the FAA published. Go to FAA.gov. Okay, they have commercial industry out there like AOPA. AOPA is one of the best one out there that you can subscribe to them and get some and go on there and read a free article. You can go on there and watch some video just to refresh your mind to continue learning. Alright guys, that's about it for this lesson. I will see you guys in the next video, but until next time, have fun flying, stay proficient, stay current, and always remember to keep the blue sky up.